For months, astronomers tracked a silent traveler. It was a faint smudge of light gliding through the outer darkness of our solar system, initially logged as just another distant object. But its path was wrong. Its trajectory was not a closed ellipse, bound by our sun's gravity. It was a hyperbolic arc. This traveler, designated 3I, Atlas, came from beyond the boundaries of our system, a visitor crossing the cold and endless gulf of interstellar space. As the object moved inward, toward its closest approach to the Sun, the world's observatories turned their gaze. What they recorded was not just a curiosity, but a profound anomaly. The object's light and structure began to shift in ways that challenged the fundamental laws of astrophysics. The mystery began when Spain's 2-meter twin telescope, high in the Canary Islands, captured 159 deep field exposures as 3I, ATLAS approached solar conjunction. The images, when stacked and processed, revealed something that seemed impossible: a thin, faint jet of material pointing directly toward the Sun. This countertail defied all known solar physics. Every comet ever studied has a tail or two, formed of dust and ionized gas. This material is pushed away from the Sun by the constant pressure of solar wind and radiation, creating a spectacular plume that always points outward. This object's emission flowed against that stellar wind. It was quickly confirmed by the Hubble Space Telescope and Hawaii's Keck Observatory, which both detected a diffuse, inexplicable glow extending toward the Sun. For a cometary body, this behavior was physically absurd. Some researchers speculated the material might be composed of unknown, heavy elements, perhaps exotic alloys, making it uniquely resistant to radiation pressure. Others suggested something more radical: that the tail wasn't a natural, passive emission at all, but a controlled exhaust from some internal mechanism. As more data arrived, the contradictions deepened. Astronomers realized the object's physical properties were at war with each other. Its mass-to-gravity ratio was inconsistent. Based on its brightness, it should have been massive, yet it moved as if it were far lighter. It also rotated, but unnaturally slowly, completing one full spin every 16 hours. For a typical icy body, this slow rotation combined with solar heating should have been catastrophic. Uneven heating would create powerful, lopsided jets of outgassing, causing the object to tumble uncontrollably and likely tear itself apart. Yet, 3I, ATLAS remained perfectly intact, stable on its axis. Theories began to collapse. Some experts proposed it might be hollow, an idea supported by subtle, periodic fluctuations in its reflected brightness. This theory gained traction when spectral analysis revealed its composition. It was not a simple ball of ice and rock. The data showed unusually high concentrations of nickel and iron, far more than any known comet, along with traces of complex cyanide compounds, rare even in interstellar dust clouds. This composition suggested something far beyond a natural formation. This accumulation of anomalies led a prominent Harvard astrophysicist, head of the university's Interstellar Research Initiative, to posit a controversial hypothesis. He suggested that based on the evidence, the counter-tail, the impossible rotation, the metallic composition, there was a significant and growing probability that the object's origin was not natural. He classified it as a potential techno-signature, a sign of technology from another civilization. Just as the global debate reached a fever pitch, 3I, ATLAS vanished. As predicted by its orbit, it moved into solar conjunction, aligning perfectly with the Sun from Earth's viewpoint. The Sun's blinding glare made it completely invisible to all telescopes. For nearly 6 weeks, the world waited. When it emerged, the moment of truth arrived. Dozens of telescopes reacquired the target, expecting to see a dim, fading object. Instead, they saw the opposite. 3I, ATLAS was 400% brighter. Its albedo, its measure of reflectivity, had dramatically increased, as if it had unfurled a reflective surface. Stranger still, infrared readings showed its temperature had not increased as expected. It had stabilized, radiating heat in a perfectly controlled manner, suggesting an internal mechanism was actively regulating its temperature against the cold of deep space. Then came the strangest part. The counter-tail that had pointed toward the sun was gone. In its place was a new phenomenon, a faint, pulsating beam of ultraviolet radiation, extending sideways into deep space. The pattern wasn't random noise. It was a perfect, rhythmic pulse, repeating every 247 seconds, as precise as an atomic clock. After days of frantic analysis, scientists at MIT and the European Southern Observatory cracked the signal. The pulses were broadcasting a mathematical sequence. They were flashes corresponding to prime numbers, 2, then 3, then 5, then 7, then 11. The sequence continued for hours before resetting and beginning again. The chances of a naturally occurring cosmic radiation source producing a perfect prime number sequence are astronomically low, practically zero. This was the universal signal long theorized by SETI researchers as the simplest, most obvious way to say, "We are here." The revelation divided the global scientific community. NASA officially urged caution, calling it a coincidental modulation of rotational dynamics. The Harvard team, however, publicly stated this was no longer just an astronomical event, it was a message. To settle the debate, the James Webb Space Telescope was reoriented to observe it, its powerful instruments calibrated for hyperspectral imaging. What it captured sent shock waves through every institution. Beneath the object's highly reflective surface, JWST detected a clear, geometric lattice structure. This internal framework consisted of repeating hexagonal plates, perfectly aligned with the object's rotation axis. It was not random, fractured, or natural. Analysis indicated the structure was a highly conductive nickel-titanium alloy, an advanced, shape memory metal, with an atomic purity higher than anything that can be found in nature. Furthermore, JWST's instruments revealed controlled polarization shifts in the light reflecting from it, as if the object's outer layer were actively adjusting itself in real time to minimize glare or manage thermal absorption. This wasn't a rock. It was something built to adapt and survive. On the night of its reappearance, the rhythmic ultraviolet pulses suddenly ceased. For 12 full hours, 3I, ATLAS went dark, completely inert. Then, at precisely 2:17 Coordinated Universal Time, the object made a sudden, measurable adjustment in its velocity vector. It wasn't a gentle nudge from radiation or a slight bend from a planet's gravity. It was a course correction. Its trajectory shifted by 0.09 degrees, and it began accelerating at 14 meters per square second, a profound and impossible feat for any natural body without massive, visible propulsion. Observatories scrambled to recalculate its projections. The new route would take it toward the heliopause, the boundary of our solar system, and it was aligned almost perfectly with the coordinates of its original inbound path. Before disappearing into the void, 3I, ATLAS emitted one final ultraviolet pulse. It wasn't a sequence this time, but a single, sustained beam that lasted for exactly 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Its spectrum carried a faint, encoded signature, complex and dense, resembling structured binary information. For days, scientists analyzed the final transmission. At first, it seemed like static. But when a research team at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics applied frequency transformations, the noise resolved into a stunningly complex pattern. The beam contained a pattern of binary modulations, too precise and data-rich to be natural. When the message was reconstructed visually, what appeared on the screen silenced the lab. It was a three-dimensional fractal structure, layers of repeating hexagons forming a perfect, infinite spiral, identical to the internal lattice the James Webb Telescope had seen. Embedded deep within that fractal was a mathematical constant. 1.618, the golden ratio, the fundamental number of growth and form found throughout the universe. The lead research team updated their assessment. The probability of this object being natural, they wrote, was statistically indistinguishable from zero. As 3I ATLAS disappeared beyond the heliopause, it left behind only the data. It was a code that no one has yet deciphered, but that every scientist agrees was deliberate. 3I ATLAS didn't just visit our solar system. It left a mark, a proof that the universe isn't silent, and that intelligence isn't ours alone.